we get the stage set up, a quick pop quiz. It's a short and easy one, I promise. Raise your hand if you're working at a startup. A few of you. Raise your hand if you're working in traditional industry. Raise your hand if you're working at the military. Yeah, okay. This next panel is going to be looking specifically at how startups can help digitize traditional industries. Please give a very warm welcome to the head of startups at Bitkom, Daniel Breitinger, and his panel.
Hello together. The German Mittelstand and hidden champions are considered the backbone of the German economy. Long-established sectors, just as the automotive industry or mechanical engineering, generate the highest return in Germany. If you're looking around the world for an example of hundreds of companies that need to transform digitally, you find it right here. And the companies see it the same way. 9 out of 10 are convinced that the use of digital technologies play an important role for the competitiveness of the future. At the same time, around 80% complain that German companies use digital technologies way too little, according to a Bitkom study. Here, startups can help. But how can startups promote digital transformation in traditional sectors? How do they see collaboration with established industries, and what are their requirements? I'm happy to discuss this today and to get further insights with Maria Piechnik. Maria is co-founder of Wandelbots. Wandelbots develops a no-code software to enable workers to program industrial robots. Maria holds a diploma in media computer science and is a member of the advisory board Young Digital Economy at the Federal Ministry for Economy and Climate Protection. Happy to have you here, Maria.
Thank you.
Also, welcome to Gesche Weger. She founded Packwise about 6 years ago and leads the startup as CEO. There she tries to make supply chains more transparent with a hardware-based software solution. Previously, The Economist worked in the market risk department at UBS, amongst others. Happy to have you here. So, to begin with, I have a quite obvious question. Maria, Wandelbots works with robots, for example, in welding. Gesche, you work with Packwise in logistics and with containers. So, both of you have never worked in these sectors before. What inspired you to get into these industries?
Should I start?
Yeah.
So, yes. To be honest, all the founders of Wandelbots met at the university at the TU Dresden, and we were PhD students at the chair of software technology. And at this time, robots were for us the frontier of modern technology until we realized they were programmed like in the 80s. Yeah? So you really need an expert to program a robot. So modern software development approaches or modern user experience or front-end designs, they didn't exist. And at this time, we also talked about that robots are the key elements of modern productions, but you need an expert to program a robot, and also there was this time of skilled labor shortage. Currently, we speak often about labor shortage, but at this time, we really needed experts. And that's why we decided to bring these both worlds of OT and IT together and provide a platform to really bring modern approaches of how to use technology and how to program these robots with the things we learned at the university back.
Okay, so like the university was like the ground where you put the seed in. How was it for you, Gesche?
Yeah, it was different. It's interesting. You have two different kinds of innovation. So yours was very tech-driven, I would say, coming out of the university. Ours was very use case-driven. So my co-founder was working in the industry, in the packaging industry, providing packaging, liquid containers to the chemical industry, for example. And he saw that there was this gap or this huge potential for optimizing packaging management. And we saw this problem, and we were thinking about how can we use technology to make processes more efficient. That's how we started.
Okay, it's quite interesting. So you had like more like the business approach from the internal view of the industry. Mm-hmm. So would you say like you really realized at that beginning, like, okay, a young company can play a crucial role here and really help the sector to innovate?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we saw all this technology around us, but no technology being implemented in this field. So for us, it was very obvious to, even though I don't have a tech background, to look into these technologies and see how they can help us with our use case.
Yeah. Maria, what do you think? Like, what position can young companies have in order to help SMEs, established companies to maintain their international competitiveness?
Yeah, of course, startups are often on the pulse of time. They use modern approaches how to develop products and new technology. But to be very honest, they are naive enough to try new things and think outside the box, and they are then brave enough to start the things because they don't know it better, right? And that's why they try out new ways. And I think we need then also a kind of a partnership or a partnership on equals that to develop these new approaches really for the end customers and for the companies to provide a purpose also for the economy. Yeah.
So you already mentioned working together. According to a Bitkom survey, only 1 in 4 companies say they work together with startups. In addition to lack of financial resources, reasons given include a lack of time and context, but also 1/3 of the asked companies, they say they see no added value in collaboration. Maria, as far as I understood, you're collaborating with established industries. We are speaking about co-innovation since like the last months, years, quite a lot. So how was it for you? How do you feel like is industry ready to work together with startups, like with new processes? Are they open to do that?
Well, it's very different, and it depends on the company and the people that are inside the company, on the processes they use. Even though you have 2 companies which provide the same product, how they come to the product could be very, very difficult. And that's why you have to find the right partnership in agreeing how to work together, and also to make clear you want to test hypotheses. Well, because often startups start with a product which is not ready. And this is kind of a crucial thing in a traditional economy because they are used to buy ready products. And maybe some software engineers around who can have also the feeling software is never ready. You have to improve day by day, week by week, year by year with the feedback you get from the customers, right?
So it was hard to find companies who wanted to work together with you, or was it like more easy for you because you had like an innovative approach and they saw like the need in the processes?
So both. We found very fast partnerships, very open, but also we had people, for example, when we started or wanted to start in an agile way, they are more approached to project management with strict feature descriptions, for example. They then said, okay, it's too risky for us to work with you. Also, this is a topic. A lot of companies say it's too risky to work with startups because it's not sure that they survive the next 2 to 5 years. Yeah, but I think both. So we started very early to work with companies, but we also had the time that they say no. And this is okay. So it's kind of a mindset.
Gesche, how was it for you? Since you're coming from the industry, how did you manage to gain traction? Was it like network you already had and access to companies and interesting contacts which helped you to work together with established partners?
Yeah, absolutely. Establishing your own network was crucial, and it's all about relationships, right? Still, it's all about relationships. So what helped us was to get out there, talk with people, get known in the industry, and then not try to convince people because we saw that is a very hard job, but rather talk to people and work with those who are enthusiastic from the beginning.
And how do you scan? Like if you say like you're looking for people who want to work with you, who are enthusiastic from the beginning, like are there some criteria to figure out like, okay, that's the company you want to work with, or how do you find potential partners?
I mean, you notice the sparkle, right? You notice the enthusiasm, and that's important at the beginning, of course. What then is important is to really take time, sit down, align on expectations, because they can differ, from our experience, they can differ quite widely. So sit down, talk about what do we want to achieve, what is the journey going to look like, who's going to be involved, what resources are we willing to spend, what is our take on error tolerance, for example, corporates, yeah, not error tolerance is not very high. Yeah, working with startups, of course, you have cycles, to align on these expectations, we found out was very, very important. And once you're aligned and trust is being built, then cooperation is really successful.
So that sounds like especially communication is key here. Maria, you've been nodding when Gesche said like all those different criteria, like aligning on expectations, financial criteria, sitting at one table. So would you say like, okay, you agree like these are really the sweet spots you need to hit?
Yeah, but I would agree to Gesche. So what we learned, the bigger the company you work with, the more you live in different kind of worlds, be it in time and speed, in bureaucracy and in political discussions. And that's why so the startup have to move forward very far or very fast. And often you have bigger companies where you have kind of a cascade of decision makers. You have to prove it, and that's why it's sometimes very hard to get really to the point where you want to provide your product there. But you need the right people to get through, I think, and also a little bit of training, and you get better by company to company to be faster then.
Okay, so training from your side, but if we have like some SME representative in the crowd now who are thinking about, okay, we want to work together with startups, what would you recommend them to establish maybe in their processes? What would help startups in order to help them transforming towards a digital future? Would you say like they need one, let's say, don't want to call it gatekeeper, but like one single point of entry? Do they need some specific management decisions, or what would help you? Gesche.
I mean, when it comes to innovation, traditional companies, they take two roads, right? So they are innovators themselves, or can be innovators themselves, and then they can implement innovative solutions. And those roads are not exclusive, obviously. And when it comes to coming up with innovation, often startups have one major advantage. It's something I call freedom to operate, right? Infinite freedom to operate. Traditional companies, they have their legacy business, which often restricts them. It restricts them from thinking outside the box, choosing tech stack, from implementing new business model, choosing the right pricing strategy, etc. So their startups have this really huge advantage. And it's important to know what the advantages are of the both sides. When it comes to implementing new solutions, working with startups, it's very important to have the management that is involved and really convinced that this is the right forward. And then it's super important to have project managers in place that can communicate with the functions that are relevant, because we see that often there's a gap. There's the management who thinks, okay, this is perfect, we're going to do it. Then there's a project manager talking to the different functions, and they all have their own agendas, right? And time, resources, always an issue. And we see that it's so important that this line is straight, that everyone is aligned, and that you have these project managers with IT skills who really have the power to push something, but who also listen very carefully, of course, to what information they get from the functions.
Yeah. You said like the advantages from both sides, bring them together. Also, you said like startups, they have the freedom, or like they're more flexible in their way. Maria, you said at the beginning, like usually startups are like innovators, like the forefront of technology. So when working together with industry, who's the expert? Like who's learning from whom?
So I think it's in partnership of equals. So to say both are the experts, because the industry is the expert of the problem, and you want to solve it with a solution, right? And that's why both sides are very, very important. And also to work together. I would recommend, for example, to very fast begin like a design sprint to really get the problem and understand the pain which is on the customer side, provide verify the prototype in our scenario, for example, with a real robot and showcase it, because then the communication about the product or solution is more concrete, and you can really start on the same base talking about the stuff, right? And then this helps a lot.
So you said like solution solving. When we look at the digitalization of traditional sectors, there are usually like two main drivers discussed in the public. On the one hand, it's labor shortage. On the other hand, it's just said as a buzzword, data. How does labor shortage impact SME and old economy, and how does your solution fit in here, Maria?
Well, of course, labor shortage, it's, I think, the biggest crisis we have in front of. We have a lot of jobs where no people are there anymore. 5 years ago, when we started the company, we talked about the shortage of skilled people, so experts, but currently we are talking about labor shortage in every jobs, right? So from hotel and gastronomy to the second one is metal industries, and the third one is, for example, bus drivers. And so that's why for the industry and automation, we really need new ways, faster ways to provide new technologies there, which can help out, because if people are not willing to stand the whole day, for example, on the shop floor or on the line, and we have to create this repetitive task in a technical way, that the creativity comes back to the humans and to the persons who have then really a more purposeful job which they can do.
Okay, so we have like the need in different sectors as well. We need to improve here, and we bring in there like digitized solutions in order to be more efficient, since we don't have the laborers here in Germany, have we?
So sorry, can you please repeat the
Sorry,
last?
so we don't have the people here, so we definitely need to bring new innovation.
Exactly. I think also in the hand-knitted craft, that's even worse when you think of bakeries. So every one of us want to eat bread every day, or maybe very fresh, but no one wants to be a baker. So, and a lot of people left this job or don't start an education there. That's why we need ways how to create bread. And in Denmark, for example, it's even worse. Only 3 ready bakers were educated in the last year, right? 3 bakers for the whole industry. And that's why, for example, we also work together with integrators for the food industries, which can then provide the flexibility of a robot, for example, to decorate cakes or pack the cakes and things like that.
So we have a broad field of use cases.
Yeah, of course.
So Gesche, you're working a lot with data. There's this cliche that SMEs, they either don't know that they even have data, or they don't clean it up properly. How do you perceive that? Do SMEs not care about data? They don't see the value they have in there, somewhere lying on some server storage?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I can only stress the importance of data. I think data is being generated to a fair extent at the moment, but it's not being used accordingly. And when using, or you can use data for process automation, and when using process automation, you save resources. And there we have the loop to the shrinking workforce, skilled workforce. So it's crucial to really use these data. Data is being seen as gold, and sometimes it's being treated as gold. There's something you hide and you make sure no one has access to. That's obviously the wrong way. It's so important to share data. People are very hesitant to share data because they tend to be afraid of giving something to others that would harm them. In many cases, it's just not justified in my view or in our view. So instead of hiding data, it should be shared, because shared data creates value for all. And this mindset is not there yet everywhere.
So we need a new gold rush.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. So looking at the time, and just one final short question. We always speak about framework conditions, so it's the most easiest question now, but probably the hardest one to answer. What kind of framework conditions do we need to improve in order to help startups to collaborate together with SMEs? If you can answer that in one sentence, that would be wonderful, but probably way too hard.
So I try. I wish for that startups are faster at the real shop floor. I know it's important to start at innovation labs, but a lab is not the real environment. And this is important to test as a startup your hypothesis you have on your product.
Gesche?
I think it's super focused to focus on the chances of innovation and opportunities. Of course, there are risks involved, and you shouldn't leave the risks out completely, but to have the mindset to work around the chances that you see, work around the opportunities, not neglecting risk, taking them into account too, but working, like thinking big picture, thinking opportunities, that's something where we can do a lot. Yeah.
So thank you very much. So we have startups ready to help. We need SMEs also to be ready to be helped, but work together also with startups, because both sides can learn from each other. We need to bring the advantages from both sides together. Thank you very much for these insights. And a round of applause to Maria Piechnik, co-founder of Wandelbots, and Gesche Weger, co-founder and CEO of Packwise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.